Thank you. All right, welcome everybody to the Economic Development, Tourism and Event Management meeting for Wednesday, September 21st. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I need an approval of our agenda. Moved, yep, good. Is there any declarations of conflict of interest? See none. I need approval of our minutes from July the 20th, 2022. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, second, okay. All those in favor of that. Any business arising out of those minutes? Perfect. We're going to move right into reports and discussions, and we'll start with the Economic Development, Tourism, Culture, and Event Management update with Wayne.
I have a few updates for the committee, and the committee will recall that we didn't meet in August, so we have a bit of a gap. So I'm going to give you a whirlwind update where we are currently. So on the economic development side, we are in the process of soon launching the overhaul of the investment profile, which will take some time and the effort of input of other city departments. Been in communication with Innovation PEI with respect to our can export lot of funding, which we secured last year. It's a typical annual funding allotment to the corporation, although we do have to apply for it annually. This is for FDIs, so foreign direct investment in Europe. Been dealing with staff at the provincial office. It appears the next trip will be early in the new year to Spain with an IT focus, so more information to come on that. Working very closely with the Medical Society as well as the province with respect to our medical professional welcome. You will recall in the past that it was always focused around new physicians, and we've been asked to expand that given what's at play in terms of trying to establish a better welcoming output for medical professionals broadly. There obviously needs to be some parameters put around that because those numbers could be huge, but we're looking at some best practices and working with them on that. Starting to collaborate with URSA on the immigration orientations that typically would happen in the fall. We didn't have them the last 2 years because of the pandemic. We did some creative engagement, but this will allow us to get back into a normal pattern. Been working with Holland College Business Analytics Center. They have a program where they send students out to work with smaller businesses, organizations, and certain levels of government with respect to business solutions, how to be more efficient, how to track data appropriately, how to be more solution-based and friendly. So we're looking to see if there's a potential for some opportunity here at the corporation. I've been working with Carly in her new role, and there may be an on-ramp for some students with respect to that area. And then a partner reconnect with the normal economic development partners that we would work with, such as the Chamber or Downtown Charlottetown Inc. or PEI Connectors. A lot of those organizations continue to operate, but summer is a bit softer, given that people are on holidays and or otherwise. On the tourism and culture side, our staff right now are currently at the International Festivals and Events Convention in Expo, downtown McAllen, Texas, which is very warm, 40 plus degrees every day. International Festivals and Events is a great platform for event professionals in North America to professionally develop and network. One of the highlights for them was McAllen, Texas has one of the longest running pinnacle Christmas parades in the United States, and they got to do a special training session and behind the scenes tour, so it's great for the Christmas parade as well as the Gold Cup and Saucer Parade. We're working on our holiday event season. The committee will be well aware that we've created this into a strong tourism product. We continue to expand and work with partners with respect to that. A couple of important dates that are of interest to the committee would be the tree lighting being on November 25th, the parade on the 26th, and of course Capital New Year will return on New Year's Eve, the 31st. Make Our Hometown Beautiful program recently competed. Congratulations are in order for the winners. I understand 20 Hawthorne Avenue and 85 Hillsborough Street were the two winners, and the Mayor's Choice Award was to 7 Lewis Crescent. So I believe the presenting of those awards is in the process. Is that correct, Doug?
Yes.
Yeah. So that'll happen in the near future. The cruise ship season, fall season, is in full swing. It's evident. We see that every day. Yesterday was the first 3 ship stop of the season. We felt that. A couple of dates to take note of are October 4th and 9th, which we'll see 4 ships on each of those days. A substantial impact on the downtown in terms of people milling around and dollars being spent. The new cruise berth expansion will be officially celebrated and opened on September the 22nd, I believe, which is tomorrow, which is also World Tourism Day. So a great day to be launching that. And our Visitor Information Center remains quite busy with cruise ship passengers, especially into the fall. Barb McLeod, I should say, who is offering in the municipal election for Ward 3, has recently taking a leave of absence from the Arts Advisory Board, given her interest in pursuing municipal office, and for the time being, staff will continue to chair that committee until after the new council takes office. This is very much a transition time for the event management side of things with respect to bidding and prospecting. It really elevates at this time of the year and takes us into the winter months. There are announcements to come, a couple of announcements for Eastlink Centre. One of them came out today. The much-beloved Boney M Christmas show will come this December. Everybody remembers Boney M Christmas. And there's a couple of other events to be announced for there in the near future. Our sport tourism strategy will be soon wrapping up. It was a bit delayed because of stakeholder engagement with summer holidays, so we hope to have that wrapped next month or so, and we'll bring that back to the committee. On the event hosting side, summer has been very, very busy. More events than ever before. Everybody trying to do all they can to ensure that they're highly successful. Coming out of the pandemic, kind of having a couple of low seasons really caught us, everybody off guard, I think, in terms of being a bit rusty, but everyone stepped up, due in large thanks to city departments and their commitments. The fall and winter is pacing very well. I'm not going to go through the list, but we're in the midst of fall flavors right now. Shellfish Festival was last week. Street Feast was to be this weekend, but with the weather, it's moved to the 7th and 8th of October. Farm Day in the city's coming up. We have the PI Marathon. We have a national soccer championship that will bring 1,500 people to the city, leading into and including Thanksgiving weekend. Lots going on. We also are hosting the Canadian Urban Forestry Conference. The city is the direct host of this event, which will be at the Delta Hotel. On the Canada Games front, just a few highlights. The games themselves, a reminder of the committee, is February 17th to March 5th. Infrastructure projects are coming together quite nicely at both Eastlink Centre, Bell Lion Centre, and in some other areas that Parks and Recreation is involved with. The Games Festival is going very well, which will be on the waterfront. The torch relay participants will be announced here any day now. We went through an exercise where there was an evaluation done. Probably, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but well over 100 people applied to be a torchbearer in Charlottetown. The lens there is pretty broad in terms of former past athletes, diversity, community engagement, a number of things which are set out by the Canada Games. So we're looking forward to that. The torch itself will be lit next month in Ottawa and brought to Prince Edward Island. So excitement is obviously building around that. We're rolling out our activation plans as we speak. The committee would have approved those some time ago. Our HR department recently approved a policy which I believe was endorsed by council with respect to volunteering for the games. We are hosting a Canada Games Sponsored Summit in Charlottetown, October the 11th to the 13th, and a number of test events remain ongoing, and we'll do so right up until a month or so out from the games. I think tomorrow actually marks 150 days to the games. Hard to believe that we're that far down the road. This coming weekend, the Islanders launch their season opener against, or they hope to, against the Halifax Mooseheads on Saturday. The Mayor's Cup was a couple of weeks ago. Great success, raising $42,000 for Stars for Life. I believe it was the highest amount raised in the history of the events. So a great offering there. And I'm just a follow-up note. I sent a note out to the committee about smart cities and sports, how Charlottetown was selected to be profiled as an international good news story. That will come out here in the near future, and we'll be sure to circulate that to the committee. So that's a few quick highlights broadly right across our department.
Thank you, Wayne. Great work. Is there any questions for Wayne or any comments? No?
Madam Chair, I just want to say thanks to Doug and Wayne. I think Charlotte was on the committee for the Stars for Life, and that included Ron Casey, Candace Loughran, and the rest of and Aaron Hansen was part of that group, along with, who's with the airport? Matt Adams? Yeah. Covers the group. But a big thanks to them. The tournament went off very well. We had a great day for it. A little bit of rain at the start, but it ended in the perfect conclusion again, with Holland College taking home the trophy for how many years, I don't know, but it continues to take it home to their Holland College. Just wanted to find out the touch-up painting for the Carl Phillis pieces of art around the city. We did have someone approach the city. Do we have any update on that?
If I may, Madam Chair, answer Mayor Brown's question. I believe Laurel sent an update on that to you fairly recently, that we were taking a look at options for doing a little bit of maintenance work on that. So I'll just defer to that email correspondence, which was sent, I believe, about 2 weeks ago in relation to that item. Yeah, but there's no further updates since that time, and I believe Laurel was to be in to communicate directly to the individual who had volunteered to do the maintenance.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to do, is get a follow-up from her email, because I know Laurel has been speaking to the person, or maybe the family too, the Phillis family, but I just wanted to keep up to date on that issue. The other issue is the painting of the Indigenous Crosswalk. I know that we've talked about it, and we're still trying to get something done. Any update on that?
Thank you, Mayor Brown. I do not have an update at this time. It was brought to my attention that this was something, just in relation to the workload and changes in terms of staffing. It's something that has kind of fallen to the wayside, but it is on the list, and there was a communication with the two artists that were identified. However, we would need to talk a little bit about that before proceeding on that matter. Yeah.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Everybody else is okay? Thank you, Wayne, again for the report. I know we missed a month, but mercy, you've been busy. We're going to go on to the Atlantic scan of the downtown parking initiative. I know that we had asked Wayne and Laurel to take a scan of what other jurisdictions were doing regarding, Mayor Brown was quite keen on exploring this, so I'm looking forward to the update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So there is a report in your package. As you indicated, the committee had requested that we do a scan of the Atlantic region. So we worked closely with a summer engineering student in Public Works who's been working on the parking file at large. And she did a jurisdictional scan of the Atlantic region. So you can see by the report that Halifax, Moncton, and Fredericton all have parking initiatives or related programs to parking in the downtown core, whereas other cities in the region do not. There's a report attached to the back, which was pulled together by the summer student, essentially examples of programs or the forgiveness program of which we're familiar with in Halifax. There's a gift card program where the gift card not only can be used for other items in the downtown, such as restaurants, et cetera, but the gift card can be used at a parking meter. And there's probably some IT and technology associated with that that perhaps that we don't have, but there might be through Hotspot. In some other areas, there's daily rates versus parking by the hour, and this is at street level versus in parkades. Obviously, there's daily rates in parkades themselves. Dinner on Us is another program where there is a packaging of staying at a hotel, et cetera, in the downtown, and you're parking for up to 3 days if your visitor comes with that particular incentive. There are other items such as holiday campaigns, which we're familiar with. There could be special celebrations around small business weeks, as an example, where there are programs associated with such. So there's a good detailed document attached. If you haven't had the opportunity to read it, I would strongly encourage you to do so. The key to all of this is really trying to narrow in to determine where it best fits and to strategically implement it. And it's important that if the municipality is on site and wants to do something of this nature, that we include the BIA, who works with the business community in the downtown every day. I did have a brief discussion a couple of months ago with Don Allen at Downtown Charlottetown Inc., and Don at the time indicated that, we can carry out the research, but from the BIA's perspective, if something was to launch, it'd be more in the fall and/or winter months when we really need to bring prosperity into the downtown. So this is essentially kind of an inventory of where we are in terms of a jurisdictional scan of the region. We're looking for direction or feedback from the committee. Is this something that we want to move on? If so, staff are ready to engage with the BIA and bring back a firm recommendation to the committee. We were prepared to do that before. However, the committee was wanting to see the full scan first prior to committing to a particular item. The mayor originally had surfaced a program that was happening in Halifax that I believe is still operating, but wraps up in the next few days by the end of September, if it hasn't already. So some good information here, and we're at a point where if we're to move forward, that we need direction and input from the committee, and we're ready to execute as the committee wishes.
Thank you. Just for clarification, has this been presented to the committee, the working group that you've been working with? Have they had the opportunity to look at the scan? And because from what I understood, a lot of this was still going to sit with the committee to come back with a recommendation to the committee. Is that not what the purpose of that committee was?
That committee that you refer to, Madam Chair, is taking a look at creating a parking strategy for an updated parking strategy for Charlottetown. One was done in the past, but it's time that it needs to be modernized and brought into the current day. There's a number of partners involved there. Public Works is very much the lead on that particular file. CADC is involved, the police, Downtown Charlottetown Inc., as well as members of the business community. That's an ongoing process and probably several months away. They're dealing with a consultant as we speak to determine their path forward. But this particular item, in terms of incentives for parking in the downtown, is probably best fit with this committee, given that we set parking rates for the downtown core. And if it was left with the parking committee, it likely wouldn't come back to this table for several months.
Okay, that makes sense, but maybe it could still be included as a part of the parking strategy moving forward. I know you have questions, Your Worship, so you can ask.
First of all, I want to thank the engineering student that did the report. Very comprehensive. Covered a lot of bases, and I think if you go back to a couple of years ago that we looked at offering free parking during Christmas, and one of our councillors, I believe Councillor Mike Duffy, said maybe we should look at gift cards or something that doesn't stop the revenue coming into our parking meters. I think this falls in line with what other jurisdictions are doing. And as Wayne stated, you don't have to do it during the summer. Do it in your fall, your winter, like Christmas season, spring, when it affects your local population, your local residents. And I think that's the key there, Wayne. But Wayne, could I ask, the police have a role in this too, because they administer the parking tickets and the fine, and administer the fines. So, and then Public Works, do they not oversee the installation? Like, are we looking at several committees being part of this issue, or what's your view?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I would say, of course, all of those departments or organizations that you mentioned would be involved because it would be a team effort. But at the end of the day, it's this committee has the terms of reference with respect to parking rates and initiatives in the downtown. So they would be enforcing or enacting anything that we give them direction on. And they're on standby. They know that this particular piece of work is being carried out as we speak. So we would, if the committee wants to move on this with a concrete proposal, we can come back in the near future. It doesn't have to be the next meeting. Something can be emailed in advance of the next meeting. If the committee's on board, we can work with the BIA and determine where it best fits and the model that would work to maximize the downtown. And Your Worship, on the downtown dollars, as you indicated, many municipalities have downtown dollar programs. So DCI has one as well, where their organization sells those at street level on an ongoing basis, and oftentimes during the year they sell them at a discounted rate as well to bring prosperity, depending on the time of the year and what's happening there. So it'd be worth a discussion with them with respect to how this works, the dates that are best fit in the model that we advance.
So are you saying direction from this committee maybe to give direction to meet with DCI, and then from that point, and would it still have to go to finance too, Donna, or is this just something?
Depends on what you decided. I guess it depends on what you decided to do.
So is the committee wanting to give direction for Wayne to proceed in conversation with downtown Charlottetown Inc.? Come back with some sort of a more formalized proposal? Or where are people at?
Do you want a resolution?
I don't know. I don't know if we need a resolution.
Like, the more information we get on no matter what project we're looking at in the city, I think it certainly wouldn't hurt, like, from the other parties, if Wayne wants to go ahead with that and check with Downtown Inc. and all those people.
And I do think that we had discussion before, because when, like I say again, we depend on parking meters as part of our influx as well. So how can we collaborate with Downtown Charlottetown Inc. and how can it benefit everybody really in the end before so am I hearing then we can give direction to Wayne to have those conversations and come back with something?
And Madam Chair, I looked at some of the stats from Halifax on the parking ticket forgiveness program. The numbers are not thousands and thousands. I think it's the initiative shown from the city and Downtown Charlottetown Inc. that we are trying to encourage local purchasing, local support, and if that relieves being fined for parking in a non-parking space or your meter goes over its time limit, it's all good for business. So I want to move it on to DCI. You want a resolution for that? I'll move it.
I don't think we're ready for need a resolution. I think we'll just give staff direction. Give staff direction, if that's a committee agreement. So is everybody in agreement? Jason? Okay. Councillor Cody, Councillor, you are, and the mayor. Okay, Wayne, if you could, and then come back with something once you have the opportunity to sit down with downtown.
Madam Chair, if I could just add one thing to this. One of the things that the original parking study, one of the concerns that was held during the original parking study was all-day parkers, parking and parking meters and feeding the parking meters. I'm sure DCI will recall that, and that was a real issue. And I think even one year more recently, a council decided kind of at the last minute to give the month of December free parking. And so we did a little bit of looking around at that time, and sure enough, it was, a lot of it was employees parking, so, on the street. So they got all-day free parking is what it was. So that is one of the things you have to be very, very aware of during this process.
Oh, yes, Madam Chair, if I may add too, with the CAO just expressed, I remember we did it last year at Christmas time, and I had a few of the business peoples when I was going on Kent Street, and they just said, oh, that didn't work out too well for us, did it? Because all the staff is parking there. So that's something we got to be very leery or weary of, is to make sure that, that is not free parking for staff, it's free parking for of the clients, of the customers. Because I still remember the day that 3 different people between here and Tim Hortons stopped me and just said, that didn't work out well for the city, but staff's parking there. Thank you.
And I think Downtown Charlottetown Inc. actually had concerns, or one of the working groups had concerns on the same thing too. So I'm sure that will come up when you can brainstorm around possible solutions for that. So if you could bring that back, that would be great.
And Madam Chair, if I could just say, this is not about free parking, it's about a parking ticket forgiveness program, or it's talking about just giving out gifts that are related to downtown businesses. It's again, we're not going back to those free parking days, because as Donna said, yes, we did it in 2002, and as Councillor Ramsey said, that we did it last year, and businesses did come back and said it's not working. So this is not about free parking, it's about, you get ticketed, how do you take care of it? Thank you.
Thank you. Look forward to the report, Wayne. Okay, Doug DeMay, welcome as part of this new committee. You're going to talk to us about CBC's television Digstown.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm just bringing forward an information sharing report on the Canadian legal drama television series Digstown, who filmed in Charlottetown and other locations in Prince Edward Island from the period of May to August this year. So a few of the good news updates on that is that there was a huge economic impact from their time here in Charlottetown. The production spent over $2 million in direct local costs in the city during that period. So that's rentals, car rentals, warehouse studio rentals, office supplies, props, everything. It was also a pretty positive experience for many businesses. If I can share an anecdote that was shared with me. The front of a local business was used for 2 separate dates during the film production. This was also shared pretty widely on social media. And the 2 days immediately following those 2 shoots were the highest days of sales for this business on record that they had. So they brought a lot of attention to downtown Charlottetown. A lot of people wanted to be kind of involved in the shoot and go check out the businesses that drew attention, that this production drew attention to. So another positive thing about this production was that 1/3 of the crew was hired locally. So this was part of the requirements from the province as part of this initiative. And a lot of these crew members were based in Charlottetown. So there was a lot of good professional development opportunities in the film industry, gave a lot of people kind of a footing in that field, and gave a lot of people an appetite for the kind of opportunities that could be presented. Also, great benefit to the tourism industry. There was about 70 crew members coming from off-island who stayed in hotel rooms throughout the summer intermittently. Some nights up to 30 or 40 rooms a night were booked at the Delta for major filming dates. The Digstown production crew also rented the Eastlink Center and built several sets in that 3-month period. So that was all kind of opportunities for revenue generation at the city. In terms of what the day-to-day looked like, essentially for scenes that couldn't be filmed at the Eastlink Center, they sent out a notice to Public Works, Police, Fire, Parks and Rec about where they were filming in Charlottetown. And this was an opportunity for city staff to provide kind of information and to make sure that any concerns about parking or safety were addressed by the municipality. They notified residents if they were in a neighborhood or downtown businesses via Downtown Charlottetown Inc. about any potential impacts to traffic or anything during that period. So I served as the kind of main point of contact, coordinating between departments as needed. Public Works blocked off parking areas, provided barriers, and gave advice on street access, that kind of stuff. Police was also heavily involved. They were directing traffic, calling vehicle owners to remove their vehicles if they were in a shooting location. And so there was a lot of back and forth during this period. The heaviest human resources came through via the police department. They raised that there were some human resources concerns during this period just because there were several overtime hours committed to this project, which Digstown paid for. And this is, an issue that relates to other problems that the CPS has identified in relation to their standing committee. It's not related to this specific instance. I think it's just referring to a broader, challenges in relation to staffing. But just something to raise. So a big, a lot of credits due to the whole team who was involved in this. They were really flexible and adaptable. It's an industry that has a lot of changes. There were, if inclement weather's happening, they had to change the dates of their shoots, and our team was really responsive and really great to work with. We only heard good things from Digstown. In terms of complaints from residents, we only received, as far as I'm aware, 2 complaints to the city during this period, which were just related to parking. And I believe Digstown only heard 1 complaint during that period. So that's pretty good. In terms of next steps, there's obviously a clear economic benefit to these sort of productions. But as it stands, we're not really able to support filming activity in a really meaningful and strategic way. So there's kind of 2 steps to growing this in terms of increasing the economic impact from this sort of filming activity. One would be to create a filming guide. This would be made available online and to production companies as requested, and it would just give information about what production companies need to know to film in Charlottetown. Unique features, kind of attractive elements to filming here, certain locations that might be interesting. It would also outline the city's expectations for communications from production companies to avoid any issues. Second, film attraction strategy would be a good kind of long-term step, which would set the vision for maybe a 5-year plan for industry development. This would help expand the local economy, and it would include kind of background and needs assessment research, identifying what could make Charlottetown competitive in terms of being a filming location, and would require developing policies, fee structures, that sort of things to support the industry as best as possible. So that would be a good motivator for economic driver. And it would also include a lot of stakeholder engagement, whether it's internal with city departments to make sure we have the capacity to support more film productions. And it would also involve external stakeholder engagement with Film PEI, Creative PEI, and other key players in that field. So for right now, this is just, as I mentioned, an information sharing report. And I think members of the committee can expect a further update on this in the coming months with regards to those 2 next steps that I proposed just in this preliminary report. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. I'm looking forward to that. And let me know when that's on TV, will you? I watched it. It's hilarious, that show. I never saw it before.
Netflix.
No, I want to see when it's in Charlottetown. I just want to know that episode. Yeah, but thank you. Any questions or comments for Doug?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to ask Doug, there were some businesses where the shoot was taking place, and it was just the amount of time that the street was shut down. It's not a negative feedback, but could you just note that some of the businesses between Kent and Grafton on Queen Street were glad to have the production crew near their places of business, but we had our barriers up there for several days prior to and then a couple of days after. And I think that's only a logistic issue. Maybe it's more our responsibility as Public Works Department or as a city government to ensure that we keep many spaces free for parking for businesses. The other issue is FPEI is I know we've supported their organization in previous years. Is there any way that we can work with FPEI, Film PEI, on doing more of this movie in the city or downtown Charlottetown?
Yes, certainly. Madam Chair, if I may answer Mayor Brown's question. There's definitely opportunities to work with Film PEI. As I mentioned, they would be a key external stakeholder as we develop kind of more strategic direction for filming. Of course, that wouldn't be something that would be undertaken without sort of direction from council, those steps. But I know that there have been prior meetings with Film PI who's brought some recommendations forward, which we did acknowledge. That was would have been about a year and a half ago now. But there's a lot of appetite to grow that industry, and they would definitely be a key part of that. And it's one of those things where, you know, the city wouldn't necessarily be, well, we could be a lead driver for film attraction strategies. We would be, of course, well positioned to kind of give organizations like Film PI all the resources they would need to be able to assist in that kind of long-term stuff. But the more the city can make itself available and attractive to film companies, the more it supports. So it's one of those things that just requires a lot of partnerships across the board. And in terms of your first concern, I have made a note of that, and I know that it's just related to the longer the barriers are out there, the more likely that there will be parking spots available essentially for film production crews, because as you know, there's many trucks involved for crew and staff. So it's just one of those things where Charlottetown, the reality is that with parking, it's the earlier you can get the crews out there to block off those spots, the better. And from my understanding, I think the longest period of time that they would be filming would be 2 days maximum. And I don't know if there was any period of time where they filmed in downtown for a 48-hour stretch. It was, I think, 1 day at a time. So I'm
Yeah. Doug, it wasn't the actual filming, it was the prep before and the prep after. That's the pre-film and the post-film. But I spoke to some of the production crew. They were happy with the relationship the city provided for their crew. I went out to the production facility at the East Link Center. They had the whole trade center occupied there for 2 months plus. So everything worked very well. So I think it's a great place. You know, this could be another Vancouver, Toronto for doing the small shows, but there's a lot of potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Doug, for your report. Wayne is going on to item D, Downtown Charlottetown Inc. Small Business Week events.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just before I get to that, I just want to say quickly as we conclude Doug's report that the Diggstown impact on the city as a whole was substantial in the province. But Eastlink Centre, in lieu of not having a general manager, I actually managed the Diggstown's presence at the venue. And their stay at that venue and maximizing the space was impressive, but yet great yielding of income to the Eastlink Centre, especially during a slower time of year and period. So it's just another example of the impact the industry not only has from a cultural and social perspective, but there's huge economic impacts from such a sector. So there's potential, and I think Innovation PEI would be thrilled to hear that the City of Charlottetown is willing to further move into this space and explore and develop such a product. With respect to this particular item, from October 12th to 22nd is Small Business Week, and Downtown Charlottetown Inc. Executes a number of initiatives and programs on an annual basis. Members of the committee would be familiar with this from past years gone by. Two of the activities that DCI is looking to roll out are a sidewalk sale downtown, as well as a free parking day, and would build off the momentum of 2021. The city endorsed both of these events last year, which were highly successful. The sidewalk sale would also require input from Public Works, given that it does infringe on the public right-of-way, although there's some strong parameters put in place with respect to being close to buildings, et cetera, not blocking off sidewalks. And then, of course, they're also looking for free meter and parkade parking from 10 a.m. forward on Friday, October the 21st. That particular item last year went to council as a resolution from this committee, and it passed unanimously, obviously. So Downtown Charlottetown Inc. is looking for the municipality's support again on these two initiatives, which will add to their larger inventory of events and activities of which they have planned.
Thank you, Wayne. So we're going to need someone to move that. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, second by anybody. We'll move to council for a free day of parking on October 21st for the day, seconded by the mayor. All those in favor, everybody in favor? Okay, we'll move that to council. Thank you, Wayne. Is that everything for D?
Thank you. It is.
We're going to, item E is International Association of Event Hosts, an annual report.
Yeah, so this is simply information sharing. There's no action required of the committee. The International Association of Event Hosts is an organization of which we are a member of, do a lot of work internationally, and have some great opportunities for us to not only wave our flag, but to be inspired and professionally develop as an organization at large. And I'm just sharing a copy of their annual report for the committee. Nothing more than that. If you have an opportunity to take a read, it's some valuable information in here and will further help you understand the international landscape with respect to event hosting.
Thank you, and thank you for that information. Any comments on that item? We're good. The final item for today is Festival and Major Events Fame Strategy. Wayne Long again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very similar to the last report. Again, this is information sharing, no action required. The City of Charlottetown is a member of FAME. You've seen multiple documents from that organization through this particular committee. They work very hard to lobby the federal government with respect to funding events, sport events, culture events, festivals and events, not only through one department, but multiple departments of the federal government. A lot of our funding in this region comes through the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, as well as Heritage Canada as well. So there's some great information here as well. This document is essentially their strategy to lobby the federal government with respect to the next budgeting period as we continue to rise from the pandemic and continue to advance the sector in not only Atlantic Canada but Canada as a whole. In the near future, next week, we have the Event Atlantic Summit, which is being hosted by New Brunswick, downtown in the mighty Miramichi. Festivals and Major Events Canada will be presenting at this particular time to the region as a whole, and there'll be other government representatives there as well. So again, another reading piece, great reading piece for a weekend or a nice cold night, and I encourage you to do so.
Thank you, Wayne. Any questions or comments? Okay, so we only have one more point. Is there any introduction of new business? So I need a motion to adjourn. Moved, seconded. All in favor? Thank you very much.